much, and congratulations to 20 years of labor mobility. I just realized this morning that I was a living example of 20 years of labor mobility after 3 continents and 4 different countries in the last 20 years. I'm quite used to sort of changing perspectives and having to deal with human resource officers and everything that's been talked about. I will talk about a very conventional definition of mobility. This is about mobile academics who play an important role in our day and life. What we need to understand is that those mobile academics, students, professors, just like those executives, the Rabobank says, they go places because they expect to be able to grow. They hope to win something from the experience. So we might have a little dilemma here, because on the one hand, we keep inviting them. They come by great numbers. On the other hand, we are promising that we can help them grow, but our systems are rather overextended. A lot of challenges that we haven't met in our own countries. So while we are inviting them and promising a lot, the question is, do we have the skills, do we have the human resources to actually keep our promises? Over 3.3 talented students, a number that has grown by 65% in just 1 decade, is on the move. Those wandering scholars expect that the international experience adds value to their professional and academic development. And for all we know, the most immediate concern is to be employable on an increasingly global, very competitive market. With 245,000 international students in the fall of 2010, that's about 11% of all students in Germany. Germany is one of the leading destinations for international students. Until 2020, we want even more, that is 300,000 international students. Now let me describe how difficult the situation is. The rector of the University of Duisburg-Essen, not very far across the border, claims that he's in need of additional space, a minimum of 30,000 square meters. I couldn't resist the temptation. That's 4 soccer fields. In 2010, he had 4,500 first-year students. In 2011, he had 7,300, and until 2015, 3,300 more study places are actually needed. For the time being, the rector has rented movie theaters that function as lecture halls. Now, Germany's lender, in this case North Rhine-Westphalia, they're in charge of the universities, and they seem to be unable to help. They cannot cope with the situation, not so much for financial restraints, but because of constitutional restraints. They may not invest in universities, except for research. Now, North Rhine-Westphalia's budget was even declared unconstitutional because it wanted to borrow more than it invested. So in 2011, Düsseldorf, the capital, was helped by the other federal states with 260 million euro. And the problem is here to stay. Not until 2045, as the Center of Research in Germany claimed, will student numbers go back to where they were in 2005. Now, given the financial constraints, the universities are also not able to pay competitive salaries. Germany comes number 10 in terms of professorial salaries, right after the Netherlands, I believe. Meanwhile, 7.5 million people in Germany can hardly read and write, and 60,000 pupils, I checked it, it's the size of the town of Hoorn in the Netherlands, quit school before graduation. Furthermore, I quote, Europe has verged from one economic crisis to another in recent months, and any long-term solution will depend on the willingness of Germany to shoulder much of the financial burden the debt crisis has created. as Aishalabi recently observed in the Chronicle of Higher Education. Yet, Aishalabi goes on, the Germans remain willing to generously subsidize others from much further afield, foreign students. So, should Germany just give up on recruiting and subsidizing? Many critics from outside and inside the system have recently drawn our attention to the fact that internationalization is or potentially might be counterproductive to many a good cause anyway, that it increases injustice and inequality, erosion of local languages elsewhere, and further falling behind of developing countries. Yet, in spite of all the challenges and intimidations, Germany does not seem to be bowing to the pressure and has indeed shown an amazingly strong conviction that supporting international mobility is worth a substantial investment and that the universities need to deliver. Germany claims that the investment is worthwhile because internationalization of higher education institutions helps to maintain and enhance quality of academic institutions and thus the education at home. So it's in the interest of the taxpayer. Where does that very strong conviction come from? Number one, the US and the Western European countries have helped post-war Germany to get back on its feet. Europeanization has allowed the country to adopt a new national identity after World War II. Number two, export has made Germany's economy strong. Going international has been Germany's growth engine and quality engine. Furthermore, number three, Germany seems convinced that money follows talent much more than talent follows money. So that having a talented international, whatever, academic community actually counteracts unemployment. So the conviction is there and very strong. Which action is now taken to meet the challenges that I've described earlier? How are these overextended, underfinanced universities coping with it? One decision they have been making is no fees. Fundamentally, Germany still holds forward that internationalization strategy centers around the idea of a common good and improving the overall academic quality. So Germany has ruled out tuition, like Scotland, which we can read. Scotland is deprived of $117.5 million a year in lost revenue just from EU students who also get free education in Scotland. Unlike Sweden, that has decided not to be deprived any longer and charge fees. So, in addition to that action, no fees, another action was decided upon, which is spending even more money. Public money, for one thing. The government budget has been increased by 9.11 billion euro between 2011 and 2015 to ease the burden of the double cohorts entering the German universities, because we've changed our school system from 13 to 2 years and given up on the Bundeswehr. So that, of course, implies the danger of not as many international students being admitted, given that the universities are pretty crowded as it is. In addition to government spending, a lot of private monies go into the system. In order to attract more and highly qualified university staff, financial incentives have been given by private foundations like the Krupp Stiftung. Professors go where the money is. So every returning professor gets 100,000 euro right there. And during the last 6 years, 52 international researchers could be lured back to Germany under this scheme. And then there's money from publicly funded agencies. The Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, they claim they want to reach the world stars of science, as their president said, gives 5 million for 5 years to a scientist of that caliber when he or she is ready to come back to Germany. And furthermore, DAID and the Stifterverband, they give 50 years as an award, as a prize to the university that has the best service facilities for international students and faculty. In addition to spending monies and not claiming fees, a lot has been done in terms of adjusting legal frameworks, ease visa regulations and work permits, so that those graduates, may they be international or national, can more easily find jobs. And also adjusting academic frameworks. You might have heard about the embarrassing doctoral awards, so that whole system of awarding a doctoral degree has been revised or is under revision. Admission reform, although lagging behind terribly, and then the Excellence Initiative that you might have heard also falls under this. And then last but not least, the universities have mandated an organization that I represent here to support them in their internationalization initiatives, the DAAD, Deutscher Akademischer Austauschdienst. So, the DAID alone spends about 400 million euro annually, taxpayers' money, on internationalization of German universities, mostly in mobility funds. The global gauge ranking by the British Council scores high. They've compared various countries in terms of their internationalization policy. So they said thanks to its internationalization strategy, which actively promotes mobility in both directions, and a lot of funding, and that Germany has committed itself to a proactive internationalization strategy and a balanced policy framework, they've picked up points all over, according to them, and have given us a first rank here. So, we've been quite successful in this, and you don't have to learn this by heart. I understand this will be uploaded and you can go into the details. What I wanted to show here is how does the DAID claim these funds? We're not a government agency. Nobody gives these funds to us just like that because it's written in some constitution. So how do we do this? The DAID centers around 3 strategy areas. And the main target areas, the 3 areas, are also related to the main sponsoring ministries where the money comes from. The first is the area of cultural politics, mainly targeted at the Foreign Office. So we design our individual programs, such as alumni programs or re-invitation programs for former alumni, around a certain strategic goal that we define. So by presenting the tools and the goals, we make it sort of transparent to the funding agencies or the ministries who don't really know too much about higher education and internationalization. We try to make transparent what it is we do, and have actually been pretty successful in securing funds, even in under tight fiscal circumstances. Our funds have actually been growing. The second strategic area is developing politics. Just to give you an example of figures, since now I'm in Indonesia, within the last 5 years, for instance, DAID financed 86 completed PhDs of Indonesians in Germany, while the Indonesian ministry financed 235. So quite a lot of things can be done with this money, and it all breaks down those programs into certain country strategies, and it's all very transparent, which is important. And the next strategy concerns university policy. Same thing here. We decide on certain tools, we do lobbying, whatever needs to be done, and make sure that they understand the strategy behind it. Now this geostrategic approach, the favorable diversity of students, for instance, that the global gauge pointed out, gave us credit for, didn't really happen by chance. Some of this development, of course, is due to the strong presence of former Eastern Bloc countries. It's related to world politics. And a lot is related to scholarship and course design, allocation of money, and geostrategic decisions made by the DAID. While, as a rule, we work with all foreign countries, we do sometimes encourage mobility to certain regions. For instance, with programs like Go East for Central and Eastern Europe, or a new passage to India, or studying language in China, to come up with a well-balanced geostrategic policy. Before the DAID raises funds, it needs, of course, to ask the university what it is they want. And the university, because we are owned, if you like, legally speaking, by the German universities, not by the government. So when you ask the universities, like here, they all say Asia. We're living in the Asian century. So looking at Indonesia, Germany is in fact the biggest and most important hub for Indonesian students in Europe, but figures, if you look behind this, are shriveling fast, and it would be up, for a person like me now to look into why this is and do something against it. I think one homework that the DAID hasn't quite made yet is the DAID as a national agency and the DAID as a European agency administering the Erasmus Mundus and European programs do cohabit, but that is where the relationship ends at this point. And I think the next step we'll have to go is go beyond national borders and see how we deal with Europe. Last but not least, creating more diversity and open-mindedness at home is a big policy issue. So we have a big campaign for going out. Meanwhile, 30% of our students do actually go out already, but we want this to be 50%. And with this last file, I'll try again, but unfortunately, the little, this little penguin doesn't, oh, sorry, no, I killed it. So anyway, this is a go out campaign, see something else. It says, mal was anderes sehen. A little penguin is to come out of the jungle, sort of a good example of me, the penguin living in the Batavian jungle at this point. Thank you very much.
There might be some people who want to ask some questions because some people are from the Erasmus University, so maybe you have something in mind, like a question, or not really yet? No. Just ask. Anybody else already? There's one? Sorry, I didn't see you. Yeah.
You said the money follows the I don't know. Two questions. Does the Netherlands do something like this? And is there a way you track the success or the output of this program?
Yes to both questions, and there are very able people here in the audience that might be able to enlighten you on what the Netherlands do. Excellent programs, very experienced, very similar, and we exchange views actually regularly. And yes, we do tracer studies and keep records of how our alumni are doing, and we have a lot of programs to keep in touch with those foreign students who once got their PhD here and now they go back to their countries or other countries, in fact. And we also try to establish regional networks for them, because we do understand that they might have done their PhD in Cologne, but now they're 20 years later and they need to maybe network with the Netherlands for something. So we quite encourage that, or with neighboring Asian countries. So yes, we do keep track, and we do encourage them to. We help them if they want to have a seminar, set up a seminar of their own in, let's say, water management, and want to invite, let's say, a Dutch colleague who happens to be in the neighboring country. Yes, they can do that, and we could give them money. So we trace that, but we also learn a lot about how they develop, how the international world of academia is actually developing. Very important for us.
But if you give a scientist that kind of money because he can organize something, why does that help German universities?
Well, we do believe that this scientist will stay in touch with us simply by being part of that network and talking to us. So that opens doors, that opens opportunities, let's say, for a German water management scientist who might find it extremely attractive to see the chaos in Jakarta with his own eyes and figure out what could be done there, could be done there.
Okay, so there's not a direct benefit,
return of investment.
but it's because you open up a network, you think, well, we can have our talent go out there as well.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I know Switzerland has done this. Germany never had a survey of how much those international students actually spend in Germany, which will actually be quite interesting to know. It might be a powerful tool when it comes to raising money. We've never bothered to actually figure that out. It's really more about this indirect return of investment in terms of an international science community.
There was one thing I wrote down, and I tweeted actually, money follows talent more than talent follows money. That's correct, isn't it? And 3 sentences later you said, professors go where the money is. So how do I match that?
Yes, you caught me there. I think it's wrong. I was talking about the younger talent.
Oh, younger talent does that. All right. If you're older, you go for the money.
No, actually, I think in terms of macroeconomics, if you look at it that way, professors would money goes where talent is. You know, production sites needs intelligent, young, well-educated, young engineers. Otherwise, they can't build their planet there. But I do see a little contradiction.
All right. And because we talked at the beginning, because that's what ELM is about, how to attract and bind international talent. What would your top 3 be? How to attract them and how to bind them to your institution, company, country? What would your top 3 be like?
At the end of the day, it is about quality. Your country needs a reputation. The university system needs a decent reputation. Otherwise, you won't really be able to attract them. But, for instance, whether it's cheap or expensive, that is a totally different thing, and it depends on whom you're talking to, whether that is to decide whether that is good or bad. From the ISB, where I met Lynette, is something we had completely underestimated, but Eric, you pointed it out. Security, it's very important for those mobile academics, the wandering scholars. Will I be able to safely do my research there? Will I be discriminated against? Will I have to fear about my family? So treating people decently, being open-minded and accepting that they bring something, that they want to grow, and that we accept them that way. So that requires we need to invest in the quality of what we offer them. I do think that the rumor spreads, and that is very important.
And reputation then is very important.
Maybe I can help Irene out, because some of you might know at the AIA, for those who don't know, forget about the word, in Dublin will be presenting a book from the German government, which Archie, one of my colleagues, is writing right now about what attracts international students to Germany.
So that's going to be at their bedsides from
bedside reading.
All right, bedside reading. Thank you very much, Irene Jansen. Thank you.